The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program hosts and guests and are not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time for Martin County Movers and Shakers. And now, here's your host.
Well, hello, everyone. Can you believe we are wrapping up the month of August? It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun, but it is coming to a close. Your happy hostess with the most is Anna Valencia Tillery. Thank you for tuning in each and every week on your Tuesday drive home. Shout out, of course, to White Glove Moving and Storage, making Martin County movers and shakers a reality. I tell you what, if you know of anyone in your circle of influence that's getting ready to move, whether it's just something local, if it's a big move cross country or across the state, or perhaps they just want some help getting things up and out of the way so that they can consult with our fabulous guest here and do some revamping, the team at White Glove Moving and Storage would be honored to assist. Not only do we help with those residential relocations and office relocations, but the knack for those seniors in our community, we also work closely with a number of commercial clients that work one-on-one with their individual customer and allows us to be able to be the muscle and help execute the vision that they have. So in particular, that's a number of interior designers and decorators and the like. So White Glove Moving and Storage, whitegloveusa.com. Always a free estimate. Interstate agent with Beacons. Thank you so much for mentioning us to your friends, neighbors, relatives, and enemies. Yeah. Kimberly Perron. She's the owner at Resort at Home. This lady has an eye. And she is incredible at being able to talk in real terms with people, which I think can sometimes be a disconnect for others that go to meet with somebody and they say, "Oh, we just weren't vibing. I couldn't understand what my designer was trying to articulate to me." And here she is. We have all sorts of fun things we're going to cover on today's broadcast. Yes. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you. And I just have to give a shout out to White Glove too, because I personally know the quality service that you guys provide and just top notch and even the behind the scenes staff. So when things are going on at receiving and things like that, even when they're not in front of clients, they are just fantastic. They communicate so well, and I couldn't recommend them highly enough. They're just great. I know.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Well, we appreciate that, and it really is important to have some trusted partners to be able to help with a process like this, because you get hands on.
Yes,
and it can be somewhat of an undertaking, depending on the scope for what you're doing with your homeowners.
Yes. And, many of my homeowners, either they are moving, downsizing, and so these things that they're moving are like their most treasured possessions.
Right.
So these are the things that they love more than anything that they're bringing with them. Or we're doing a big whole house remodel and we're bringing in all of this brand new furniture, been custom made just for those clients.
Right.
So it's not something that can be replaced. We can't just call the store and say, "Hey, I need another one of these." It's one of a kind stuff. So, and your guys really know how to handle that.
We live up to the name.
Yes.
White Glove says a lot.
Absolutely.
Well, let's delve in a little bit deeper for our listeners, because this is the time of year that I notice that there is an uptick for renovations, because a lot of folks are seasonal that come to the Treasure Coast, and they typically come back to spend time in Florida, usually after the holidays. So this is a sweet time for them to get to task on some of the things that they want done, so that when they come back, it's completed and they're able to really enjoy it and bask in it.
Yes. It's a lot of people too. This is that kind of time of year. As soon as it's back to school, they start thinking about the holidays. I know it sounds so far off, but it's
not
right around the corner.
Yeah.
So folks are starting to think, that shabby guest room we have, we probably need to do something because, Aunt
Guests
Sue is going to come stay with us. So we need to do something about that. So we do get a lot of inquiries now for things like that, for trying to get things dusted up for the holidays and get things finished. It is a tiny bit late to start a remodel. So if you were wanting to do a kitchen or a bathroom or something like that, it's a little late in the game, because like you said, a lot of folks are in the queue already. But a lot of people are looking to 2020 and they're thinking, in January, February, what might I want to think about for,
Sure.
my kitchen or my bathroom? So lots of kind of fun trends going out
Oh,
there.
do tell.
Yes.
I want to know the juicy scoop.
We love, the designers we crave novelty and, new things. So, we're seeing a lot of mixed textures. So where we had kind of like for the last few years, everything was a little bit more on the minimalist side. You saw things were just kind of very simple and kind of really clean lines. Well, we're seeing a lot more of kind of mixed things. So we're bringing in wools and leathers and lots of things that have fringe and kind of, yeah.
Ooh.
So a lot of stuff that you really want to kind of sink your toes into and sink your feet and everything into. Which we love. So it adds a lot of dimension to the space and,
Yeah.
kind of really makes it a lot more interesting. So I don't know if we're kind of looking for a little bit more of that cozy feel as we're nesting.
Yes, as we get ready to buckle in and listen to a lot of debates over the next several months into 2020,
That really
you might
could
as well
it.
be cozy.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So a lot of stuff in the kitchens, for a long, long time, we have been doing just the white shaker cabinets and the just the kind of white countertops. So a lot of white subway tiles.
I feel like none of them have teenage boys.
Yeah.
I feel like you cannot. I fear white in my household presently.
Well,
Mhm.
the cool thing about all the new materials is you can actually have white because now a lot of stuff is so stain resistant. So yeah,
just wipe clean.
yeah,
easy.
white clean, really kind of smart materials. So but we are starting to see like color kind of creep back into the kitchen.
Ooh, I love color. I have
I-
turquoise countertops. I'm clearly not afraid.
It's fabulous. It's
Mhm.
finally, we're starting to see a lot more of the new quartzes have a lot more color in them and a lot more motion and things like that in them. So adding a lot more interest. We're starting to see a lot more of the two-tone cabinets. So black is making a comeback. We're seeing a lot more black come back into the kitchen. So a little bit more of drama. So not as much of that, super white, super clean, a little bit more dramatic and a lot more drama going on even with something simple like a backsplash. So a lot of people are choosing a lot more color in the backsplash and a little bit more sparkle. We're seeing all kinds of neat stuff they could do with like laser cutting of materials so they can get some really fine detail into really beautiful backsplashes. So, which is exciting for us designers because, we like to jazz it up.
Right. And you always want to be able to have an attractive focal point.
Yes.
And backsplash is a great space in which to do it.
It's perfect because it's small.
Yeah.
So you can really splurge on a backsplash and not kill your budget for the kitchen.
Valid.
So you can really make your kitchen like extraordinary with a really cool backsplash and kind of, save money in other places. So that's a really great place to look.
See, those
for.
are the tips and tricks that a lot of our listeners are keen on.
Yeah.
And why you become such a relatable designer and being able to express like, hey, like we can still fit
Yes.
with this number, but let's tweak it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's not, spend a lot of money on the handles and the knobs. We'll save money there and we'll kind of put it into the backsplash. And we can also save on things like lighting. So that's another place where we can, because you can get some really pretty light fixtures for not a lot of money. So that's another place where we can kind of tweak the budget a little bit and spend a little bit more in some areas. And
lighting is so vital.
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, so many, you have to think the kitchen is really where families congregate. They spend a lot of time together. And obviously bathrooms are a spot where you're committing some time in there.
Yeah.
So you want it to be a really a reflection of yourself, your family, your things that you love and embody. And it's just a shame if nobody can see it because the lighting's too dark.
Yeah.
It's just a shame.
I always say we like to light our kitchens like it's a Buick dealership. So you want it to be like really bright in there and be able, and then put some dimmers in. So with the new LEDs, you can have the dimmers and we like, you can do the under cabinet lighting. You can do, can lighting up in the ceiling and then a few pretty pictures over some of your a few pretty pendants over some of your workspaces really
Instant.
really helps. And it's just you need to have a lot of light in the kitchen. That's super important. And sometimes some places don't have any windows in the kitchens. We see that a lot, especially in condominiums and things like
Oh,
that. The
okay.
kitchen might be in the front and it might only have like a little tiny window. So it doesn't really have a lot of natural light in there. So even more important to bring in that good work lighting in there. So
That is a really good point. Obviously, as White Glove Moving and Storage, we do a number of moves into condos, and condos are oftentimes a living arrangement that it is partial. But I hadn't thought about the natural lighting scenario.
Yeah,
in
it's
condos.
all at that one end, by
Yeah.
the ocean. So you get this really bright spot,
An incredible view.
incredible views. But then you get back towards the other end, and it's like a dark hole
Like a
back
bat
there.
cave.
Yeah, it's like what's going on back in there?
So there's solutions for that. Now,
Yes.
I guess this would kind of play hand in hand because you have some suggestions on being able to pick the right paint color. And depending on the space, that paint color could really be a valuable asset to help brighten the space or darken it.
Yes. Yeah. Picking paint colors is probably one of the things that people ask me about the most. So that's one of those, they just struggle with it. So they just leave white because they are like,
neutral.
I just can't even decide. So, and it's just a frightening decision. And you look at this teeny tiny little postage stamp size picture of paint and you're like, how do I even know? But a lot of the stores now and a lot of the websites have opportunities to take a picture of your room and then add the color so you can kind of get an idea of what the color will look like. Yeah. So go to like your Sherwin-Williams and your Benjamin Moore, and I think even Home Depot and Lowe's probably have that same opportunity there. But I think what people tend to do is they pick colors that are too what I call saturated. And so a saturated color, if you think of just your primary colors, your yellow, your red, your blue, there's really deep, bright colors that look so pretty on that tiny postage stamp size, thing. When you put it on the walls, and it's on all four walls, and it intensifies when it reflects off of each other, it becomes overwhelming. And so people will say, they painted a room and it was so overwhelming, they just couldn't stand it, and they just painted it back white because it just freaked them out. So we like to look at those pretty paint charts and pretty paint samples that you get from the store and start at the dark color to see what the undertones are, but use the lightest color on the chart. So the lighter the color, the easier it is to live with, and the more subtle the impact is. So if you're just trying to, paint a room to give kind of a subtle feeling, try more of those lighter tones, and also try some of the things that have more gray mixed in them. So if you pick something that's a little bit more tonal, so it has a little bit more of a gray to it, it's a lot more subtle and it's a little bit more complex, which means it will go with more things. So if it has a little tiny bit of gray in it, then it will look great with green and red and blue. Instead of if it was just blue, it probably will only look good with other cool tone things. So it really helps let the paint color last a little bit longer. It has a little bit of a longer life, and it looks fresh for years. You don't have to worry about like, oh, that's certainly that 1970s avocado green that everybody had,
which I love, by the way. I should have been born in a different era, clearly.
You like that hot orange too they used to have?
You betcha.
That nice deep rusty orange they had.
And like half of my house.
What's the other color? That gold, that marigold color.
Yep, that's in my hallway. I love it. And those were all picked fresh.
Perfect.
But you're so right, especially in achieving more of that coastal feel.
Yes.
I mean, folks that aren't here year round, or perhaps they are, but I mean, you really want to use your natural landscape, if you will, as a bit of a stimulant to help propel your design idea and concept. Just like if you have like a rustic cabin in the woods, guess what? You're not doing this sort of beachy
you're generally
motif.
Not putting shells and sand dollars in. It's usually not mixing it up that way. No, it's all what you like, but I think probably if you're living in Florida, you probably do like those tropical.
Absolutely.
colors. So it can go either way though. You can go with the warms, like the reds and the greens and things like that if you want that tropical feeling, or you can go with the cool and the coastal and the pale blues and the pale greens and the whites and things like that if you want to do the coastal. So we're lucky, so we can do
true.
We can kind of choose
the
our path.
best of both worlds.
We do.
I know.
Awesome. Awesome to live here.
Just just don't pick your paint color after 3 glasses of sangria.
Well,
That
maybe that's not the best time to do it.
maybe one, just one.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's because we were kind of describing a little bit of the fact that a lot of times folks are downsizing
Yes.
in this process,
Mhm.
and as a professional, you have some great tips when it comes to the world of downsizing.
I do. And I work with a lot of folks that downsize, and one of the hardest things to tell clients and to hear is that all of your big dark furniture that looked fantastic in your giant 5,000 square foot multi-room house really is not going to work in your little small condo that you're moving to here.
Right.
It's just too big, and it's just too overwhelming, and it's lovely in its setting, and it's just not going to work here. So there's not a lot of large pieces of furniture that we tend to move when we downsize. They just don't work. They're just too
Sure.
big. So so a lot of times we have to say goodbye to those really big pieces.
And what do you do in those scenarios? I mean, plenty of consignment shops locally.
Lots of consignment shops
Thrift.
locally. Yep, there's lots, and of course, depending on you're giving, a lot of churches will take them. There's, like you said, lots and lots of consignment shops. There's the consignment shops tend to favor things that are more Florida looking. So they're, when they want to consign something, they want something that's going to be really
Good for resale.
Good for resale.
Mhm.
But the folks that are, taking things for donations, if you need a dining room table, you just need a dining room table. You're not necessarily needing the most current design for the dining room table. So.
And I can say honestly, as White Glove Moving and Storage, there's oftentimes when we coordinate with our designers and with the homeowners where we can help orchestrate either creating a special delivery to their chosen donation spot of choice, or working with the donation venue. Sometimes they provide free pickups, and then coordinate with them to meet us on premise at the same time, so that the moves themselves, the things are still happening at one time, so
Yes.
that the homeowner is not inconvenienced in the process.
Yes.
So you devise your game plan and you can in fact execute it so it's seamless, and it gets those bigger pieces up and out of the way, so you can either reinvent the space or reinvent your whole new space off-site
Sure,
destination,
sure.
whatever it might be.
Exactly.
But that's a very good point, that consignment shops aren't always going to take some of the bigger,
Yes.
darker, heavier pieces.
Yes.
Their space is just as limited.
Exactly.
So it's nice to align yourself with a charity that you can feel comfortable with.
Yep.
Yeah,
and the charities need them. They
They
need
need 'em.
them, and
Yep.
folks in our community need them. And so, especially things, like sofas and
absolutely.
dining room chairs and things like that. I mean, that's hard to come by, and it's expensive. So there's a lot of folks in our community that could definitely use that material. And even, spaces, a lot of times I've worked with the Arc of Martin County before, where we have a client who just wants to refresh their home, and they have some really beautiful pieces, but they're like brand new. And so
Oh,
we'll
nice.
contribute to the Arc of Martin County, and they'll use them in one of their residents' homes. So
Ideal.
it is ideal. So they get they get a beautiful
Nothing's
new
being
piece.
wasted.
Nothing's being wasted. Everything is
Repurposed.
being repurposed. Yes. So
I
we
love
really
that.
do work very hard with that. So
That's good.
we do too recommend that our clients think about how they're going to live in the new space. So
Mhm.
that's really, really important. Sometimes it's hard to imagine, especially if it's been a long time since you've lived in a small, like 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom apartment or condo. You don't really remember how you use the space because you have this big space now. So you're used to being able to have lots and lots of storage and have, all of your many hobbies and all of that kind of
Right.
stuff. So you have a lot of stuff. And so we start by thinking about what activities are you going to be doing in the apartment. You won't necessarily need a workout equipment in your apartment because you'll probably have a nice gym on premises. So things like that.
That's a great point.
So you start
Yep.
thinking about, where can I let things go? And we also kind of go from room to room. We say, hey, what is the most important thing in this room? What is it in this space that you just couldn't give up? This is the thing. If there was a fire, this is the thing you'd grab and run out of the room with.
That really makes people think.
It does. So you really start to look at the items in your spaces and everything. And even though things might have a lot of meaning to you, whether they're going to work in your new space and if you're going to be able to utilize them. I always tell people, imagine all of the love and joy that you got out of this item. If you give it to somebody else, they're going to get all of that love and joy too.
So true.
You're spreading all of this love and joy by letting some things go.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a farewell party. So we
fun!
Yes.
You're hired. I just love any reason to have a bit of a soiree.
We have a farewell party. We have, wine and everything, and we bring in the big tubs and we start talking about all the items and the stories about them, so that when we store them away, they have a nice farewell. So
that's a great idea.
It's fun. So it makes the transition a lot easier too.
Yes.
Because then it's not so much like you're giving things up, you're actually making somebody else's life better.
Yeah, you're paying it forward.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's a process. It definitely takes a long time, and it's one of those big life moments, like the first time you go away to college.
Yeah.
And you pack up your suitcase and your few things that you can't live without here in your little college dorm room and everything. And you think about now, oh my gosh, I live in this house, but I used to live in a tiny 200 square foot area, and my whole world was in there.
Work.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's a very good point, bringing into the active lifestyle that is really conducive of the Treasure Coast. That so often these condos or other types of communities do provide a number of spaces for folks to do long outdoor walks, and they make it sort of like little rookeries around the
even
property.
Crafting. I mean, they have large crafting rooms, and two, we think that we we need our 12-piece serving set that for Thanksgiving dinners that we used to make, but we're really not going to be having big Thanksgiving dinners and have 16 people eating, so we don't need all of this beautiful things, and a lot of those things your family will want.
Right.
So your kids will want those, beautiful heirloom serving pieces and things like that. So like you said, nothing is going to go to waste. So it's all going to carry on.
I love it. Kimberly, I do want you to highlight on some of the involvement that you have with local nonprofits. I know that our listeners feel a real sense of bond when they want to do business with people who help to support other aspects of the community.
Yeah. Well, I love Stewart. It's such a great town. I've had friends come in from out of town and they're like, I can't believe how many nonprofits are here and how well supported they are.
Yeah.
And, it's just amazing. What a great community
We're very
we have. And we are very philanthropic. The whole Treasure Coast is. And so I know I think you had Bill on for Molly's House.
Yeah.
So Pirates and Pearls. So Sarah Baker, who is in charge of the decorating, asked me to help out with their Pirates and Pearls. So
September 20th, folks.
21st. Yes. So I've been helping her with decorating for that event, which is going to be amazing. I mean, she's really got some super fun stuff in store.
Oh, cool.
And then, of course, Carnival de Martin. It comes up February 1st for the Arts Council, their 40th anniversary. And it's going to be like a Venetian carnival. Ooh. It will be at the Willoughby Golf Club, and it's going to be spectacular.
Oh, my goodness. If folks want to find you, they want to be able to collaborate, where do they go to find out more about Resort at Home?
Resortathome.com. So easy.
How easy?
It's totally easy. Resortathome.com.
Kimberly Perrone, owner of Resort at Home. Check her out. If you know of somebody that would be a good match, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm Anna Valencia Tillery, Martin County Movers and Shakers, brought to you by White Glove Moving and Storage. Until next week, folks, cheers.